Well, see, we recessed the hearing, so we need a motion to come back in.
I think you just call back to order.
Call back to order.
Okay, I gotta apologize. I had it written down in my book. We looked in the file. If I would have looked in the file, I would have seen that it's at 10:30, not 1:30. And so it's all my mistake. Landowners that are here.
We've got a letter representing.
Okay. Basically what I handed out is a copy of the appraiser's report with a copy of the soils map with an average CSR valuation. I'm going to first go through the written portion of the report. The discussion there explains the process that was utilized. This district basically is acquiring additional land that's going to be taken in the width of the open ditch because of the storm damages in May of 2007. We have a FEMA project where repairs are being done to stabilize the side banks of the open ditch, and that stabilization is by basically flattening the inside slopes of the open ditch, pulling them back on a 2-to-1 slope. And in that process, we are physically removing land that by the drainage law allows the landowner the right to farm this spoil bank. The spoil bank, however, so much of the spoil bank has a district right-of-way for ingress, egress for the purpose of maintenance of the open ditch. Because this land is going to be physically removed, basically the district is paying the landowners a fair market value for that ground that's going to physically be removed. The meeting with the appraisers, basically the appraisers that were appointed for this were Graham Hogue and Michael Green. Michael Green, being a realtor in Sac County, was able to give us very good input in regard to what land values have been selling for in the last year. From that, basically a process of looking at a dollar amount per corn suitability rating for the ground that's physically being taken. Now this corn suitability rating is computed on just the ground that's physically inside of the taking for the open ditch. The maps here basically show, the maps that are attached show the boundary along the open ditch, and the ground that's included in the CSR, and the average CSR is computed only for that physical ground that's physically within the scope of what we are physically taking.
How are you getting your CSR? From that soil type?
That soil type.
Because a lot of times your water is going to wash the best dirt into the creek. If you're taking that out, that's your best dirt. And I mean, that should have a real high CSR.
Basically the soil survey that is done for each county and what the assessor basically utilizes in regard to looking at valuation of ground is based upon the county soil survey. The soil survey physically gives a CSR valuation for every soil type in the county. Okay? That is a standard process that is utilized throughout county to county. The CSR valuation for a given 40-acre tract of ground is going to be averaged over all the ground in that given 40-acre tract. This is averaging what your CSR is only in the ground that physically lays adjacent to the open ditch. And naturally, the open ditch is going to traverse the lower, wetter soils that originally were in there, and they are the soils that basically typically have a lower CSR valuation.
The question was raised, and I had Renee contact you, is I wasn't aware that you were doing those only adjacent to the creek. And then my next question was, if you're taking an average of those, how perfect are your estimates? The question was asked, did you measure the length of those soils? The answer was yes, that they do roll and measure. I mean, you could have a skewed number if you weren't actually measuring the distance of that soil type.
This is a weighted average based upon the length of each soil type that is traversed. This is done through using GIS software so that we can physically weight basically every soil type that's in there and the CSR rating for that soil type along the full length of the open ditch in each tract of ground that we're traversing. So this is as accurate of a weighting number that you're going to possibly be able to get for getting a CSR for just the ground involved that's being taken by the district in that process. Now you can see, if you look on your map, the big red numbers are those average CSRs per tract of ground as you traverse down through there. And you can see that basically those averages are going to range from down in the 50s all the way up to basically into the 75 category. And on the report, the table in the report also basically gives that CSR value basically for each parcel of ground that's traversed. The $80 per CSR valuation was a figure that Mike Green basically in the last year, and actually land values have gone up significantly over the last year in regard to the value for the farm ground. And this $80 per CSR rating is based upon the top side of what you would expect the good farm ground in the county to be selling for. That $80 is utilized all the way down. And if you have a 53 CSR, if you were buying a piece of ground, sometimes the CSR or the dollar per CSR valuation may drop off on that given parcel of ground depending on how many acres of lower CSR valued ground you have in there. He said basically the appraisers agreed that using the $80 per CSR, which is basically to the high side of what he would expect the ground to basically value at, was reasonable in using that all the way across all CSR valuations.
What's that, like for Sac County, what's the average CSR?
The average CSR?
Yeah.
That's going to vary by what portions of the county you're in and stuff. I have no idea if there's a computed full average.
The 80 times, say 60, that's $4,800 an acre.
Okay. And
some of that land is bringing more than that.
75, but the ground that is got a CSR valuation of 75, basically 75 times that was over 6,500, I believe.
I just, and I certainly don't keep up on all the sales, but we've had several local here in the 75 and 76 area that brought above $6,000. If you're using say a $75 75 CSR farm, $80 gets you just a hair over $6,000. And one example is 6150, just right here, right now.